What is up, folks? Casual Dad here with another Warhammer Combat Cards video, and as a community, we have collectively battled far beyond the mighty reaches of Terra. We have breached, that doesn't work, we have breached the Imperial Palace. We have fought into the depths of the Emperor's realm and wound up in the Dark Cells, which is interesting to me from a lore perspective because I feel like getting into the Dark Cells is a bad thing. I haven't really caught up in my Siege of Terra stuff. I don't really know. I don't really understand why breaching Terra would lead you to the Dark Cells as like a goal. Is that where the Emperor is? I don't know this. I should. I don't. If anyone out there is a lore expert that wants to tell me, I would love to hear about that. But what I'm talking about, for those who missed it previously, is that recently Warhammer Combat Cards did a complete revamp of the ladder system and how you compete head to head with other players in the game, and how you climb the ladder. So we saw the total trophy count go down from 9,000 to reach Holy Terra to 6,000 to reach the Dark Cells. So Terra itself is actually now only at 4,500 competitive trophies here. Now, we also saw an expansion of your end of season rewards, not only getting the Terra awards, but then also, I believe, getting an additional set of rewards each at the Imperial Palace, and then also in the Dark Cells themselves. And now, if I'm understanding this correctly, that's going to be a lot of rewards. So if you get from Terra to the Dark Cells, I will check this at the end of season, but I believe, if I'm reading that correctly, you'll get 6 guaranteed legendary cards, in addition to whatever you get from the drops and the massive amount of packs. That feels like a lot. We'll see. So I'm pretty excited about it. At the time of this recording, we have 6 days left in the season. We're getting into the final week. Yeah, that actually marks it. This is the final week of the season, which also means these are going to be the toughest games. And so, just to lay out what I want to talk about, I wanted to cover where we are. I wanted to talk about the changes to the gameplay and some of the challenges, but I want to talk about which warlords are the scariest to hit in this, because the changes also make this a brave new world because they add modifiers. So, if you make it from the Imperial Palace, or if you make it from Terra to the Imperial Palace, every game after that, every opposing deck will have plus 20% attack stats and wounds. And then if you further get beyond the Imperial Palace into the Dark Cells, every single game you play, your opponents will be Honor Guard, and they will have plus 30% to enemy attack stats and wounds. And I have been fascinated to try this and really dive into the meta and see how this has changed. And it's completely flipped it on its head, actually more so than I would have expected, both in how you play and what you play against. So what I'm going to cover is the warlords that are, I'm going to start with the ones that are scariest to play against, so I can kind of put into context which ones are scariest or are most successful in this latter season, because you've got stocks up and down all over the place. And I'm very curious to see what comes out once the developers have a chance to see how things have changed. It does feel like there are a lot of players out there. I'm player position 154, and I feel pretty good here. And there are a lot of players below me as well. There are quite a few people at the 6,000 VP needed to get in the dark cells. The dark cells. It's hard to say that fast. Anyway, Verabaka, look at you, buddy. You're way up there. Wow. Do I recognize any other names at the top? Welchie, familiar. Grayson. All of these are actually fairly familiar names and players who play a lot. Welchie and Grayson, both, of course, in the same clan. Actually, all of them in the same clan. Dang, guys, you're busy over there. These guys I know do also do clan contests where they set challenges for themselves to kind of encourage each other to keep playing and see who can get the highest with a specific handicap or specific warlord, and that's fun. Goodness, actually, oh, wow, okay. Wow, y'all are busy in there. Anyway, we'll get to it. So, oh, I'm done. I know you're done. Okay. So let's take a look at your warlords. And I do want to play some games, but first, ooh, spoilers. I want to go ahead and look at the individual warlords. Let's actually look elsewhere so we can avoid spoilers here. Talk about which ones are stocks. Excuse me, backtrack. We're going to start with which of the warlords are the most frightening to face as Honor Guard now that that's changed. Now, some of them are the ones you'd expect, like Tolmaron, who already has the ability to boost the attack stats of friendly cards as you play them. So their ranged attack goes up by 20% each time you deploy an additional card. If you add a base plus 30% to that, that adds up real fast. So some of the really frightening Tolmaron bodyguards are even more frighteninger than they were before. So Tolmron has been an impressive thing, especially the really thick decks where you have like 3 to 5 bodyguards, where you have a lot of the really big beefy flyers. Those already are a bit of a race to take down, where you try to deal damage to them before they deal enough damage to you, or just eat up all your cards. Giving the additional extra 30% strength to him is a problem. So he's been quite scary. Um, let's see some other obvious picks. Manifest Nightmare obviously has the ability to reduce incoming damage. So if it's a pure melee Manifest Nightmare deck and you're doing an all range deck, you're not only up against cards that are 30% tougher, they're also hitting you back harder, but then also it takes that much longer to chew through them because of that increased hit points. So some of those durability decks are incredibly hard to deal with. Now, interestingly, some of these are a little bit flipped, where someone like it's a little bit easier to get better positioning against someone like Artemis or someone like what is your name, old man? Yarick. Just because they rely on their cards dying and getting a lot of deploys, and you have kind of a lot more control of that when things aren't dying as quickly. So they lean heavily on their chaff cards and are actually a little bit weaker or easier to beat because their chaff cards are a little bit stickier. So it gives you more time to focus down the targets you have to take out before you have to accidentally kind of kill the chaff cards and charge up their abilities. So I charge up Yarick's ability or give Artemis the extra damage. I'm going to go ahead and go down the chain here. Of course, Anva, who I don't see very much at the high level, but his cards get stronger as they take damage of attack types that they have, and if they have more hit points, they have more time to build that up and get more play out of their increased attack stats. Very frightening to run into him. The bonus attack stat makes both Illic and Zemet considerably more dangerous, which is interesting because they are a little bit glass cannony where they do a bunch of damage and then fizzle out. But if their burst damage is burstier, as it is now, they are considerably more scary than they were previously. We'll keep on going down here. Most of these warlords don't. Greyfax. So the Honor Guard ability just doubles the bonus that Greyfax has. So if you have a Greyfax deck with a 50% stat bonus, stack on the 30% bonus for being Honor Guard, and then stack on, say, Inspiring Presence, and their attack stats are up to, what is that, 110-ish, give or take? It's hard to say. It's hard to say exactly, but if you've got a couple levels of Inspiring Presence, you've suddenly got bodyguards doing double damage. So hitting a Greyfax deck, it's not so bad because they usually have a fairly small number of bodyguards, but you can definitely feel that they're tougher to chew through than they are without Honor Guard. And that's been a thing. Here we go. So I'm cruising down the list and seeing Badruk, my old nemesis. Oh, God. So Badruk cards that do really high range damage, like your Skardaka, your flyers that do like 150 base damage, suddenly getting plus 30% to their base attack damage, and then getting multiple shots, in addition to having additional hit points that are harder to chew through. Badruk is my nemesis again, and it's been a while, and I'm actually not upset about it. And to go ahead and rewind a little bit in all of this, this is all so much better because the developers of Warhammer Combat Cards added that kind of forced warlord rotation, where even if every single warlord at your specific trophy level is going to be Badruk, it's going to rotate out different warlords as well. So you get a lot of variety in there. Really, really makes for a better game experience. So you're not just playing against the same kind of deck over and over and over again. So yeah, seeing Badruk in there has been intimidating, but it hasn't held me back too much. It's been very challenging to beat, but really hasn't been hurting my experience. Ulthakar. I played against an Ulthakar deck the other day and was shocked how hard I got stomped. Now I was playing Space Marines, which turns out are not my strongest faction at the moment. But yeah, that was gnarly. These things having the increased attack stats for longer and being harder to shift, like just an all Satan Necron deck is very frightening, especially one of Ulthakar's because it can do a lot of damage and just takes so long to remove that it gets the extra damage for longer. Let's see, going on down here. No one else really stands out. Excuse me. I assume that Supreme Commander Gosar decks in the with the Honor Guard buff are really, really dangerous, but I honestly have barely even seen him. I haven't seen him in play very much. Haven't played against it very much. And likewise, of all these ones, I also haven't seen Supreme Commander Call all that much. I think I've played him 3 times this season. And of course, he stomped the living heck out of me. So I am unsure if there's something in the code somewhere that's keeping Call from coming up as much, which, you know what, I would honestly think that was the right call to just make these guys come up less often, because the Honor Guard modifier takes these very challenging matchups and makes them essentially unwinnable. So not seeing either of them very much has been a surprise, but a welcome one. No one else here really stands out as being particularly stronger with the Honor Guard mechanic. Obviously, they all are, but I'm really wanted to highlight the ones that really jump above the power level we're used to. Call, of course, getting both bonus damage and bonus hit points makes his self-healing and his extra damage through defensive modifiers just bananas. So I don't think I've beaten a Call yet, but they're out there. But I haven't played against many of them either, so that hasn't been too bad. Likewise, Gosar. I think I'm 50-50 with the Gosar decks I did see, but I want to say I've only fought against 3. It hasn't been very common. So there are a lot of Warlords kicking around. Haven't seen many of those. And surprisingly, actually, I would have expected Akaran decks to be one of the biggest problems, and I've barely had any trouble with Akaran at all, which is cool. I'm running a lot of decks that are tailor-made to beat him, but, that's the thing. Okay, so those are kind of the scariest Warlords, and I wanted to highlight some of the themes there. So they are Warlords who already had some kind of defensive ability, such as Manifest Nightmare or Call, or had really insane burst damage, like Tolmaron and Badruk, or somebody who just gets a little bit of a buff from both offense and defense. The theme being matchups that were already challenging, where you had to get through something before it took out your stuff. Those get considerably more challenging when the stuff you're trying to get through has a bunch more hit points and hits harder back, which has been fun. I actually appreciate the extra level of challenge, because typically I don't really have a hard time fighting Manifest Nightmare or Tolmaron decks. Yeah, that worked out. So we're going to take a quick pause. I'm going to go ahead and pop over here and actually start playing some games. So, and then I'm going to play one game and talk this through, and then I'm going to go ahead and jump to that list and talk about why this is the approach that I am taking to fight into the Dark Cells. I'm talking a lot. I haven't shown a lot of gameplay. Hopefully you enjoy the sound of my voice as much as I do. Leave that there if you don't want to comment on that. Okay, so we've got Honor Guard of Ahriman. Ahriman's not a terribly frightening warlord, but when you give him plus 30% wounds, he's pretty scary. This is a high level one, so yeah, we'll see there. A quick comment immediate scare. A quick comment I had on matchmaking. It does feel like, since you're in the, I'm usually fairly comfortable playing around the 2K trophy range, where I expect to win my games. I will say, though, that with all the modifiers we've seen in this, I've been a little bit surprised where the matchmaking feels a good bit easier, where it hasn't, that hurt, hasn't necessarily fully adapted to the new trophy counts. So where before Terra was at 9,000 trophies, so you'd get very tough matches if your total trophy count was over 9K. Now you could be at 6 or 7K and not have that bad of a trophy matchup. Oh, yuck. This is not a good spot. I'm going to lose this handily. Maybe. If I'm somehow able to take that down, and it's not totally out of the question. Oof. So I'm going to play this one and then another one after this, because this is just completely flying in the face of everything that I'm talking about here. I should actually be able to kill this. Yeah, maybe not. Nope. Wow. This is a really high level deck compared to the ones I've been fighting. So of course this is the one that I caught on recording. So you saw a fairly frightening, very high level Ahriman deck with all of kind of your top level Psychers and Inspiring Presence. So the combination of a ton of hit points, max level Psionic Blast on that Lord of Change, plus the Inspiring Presence. Yeah, oof. I think I started, yeah, anyway, sorry, confusing myself. But what you saw about that was a combination of the plus 30% bonus with the Honor Guard modifier, plus 40 some odd percent bonus from Inspiring Presence, on top of some really scary, scary cards. And they are also in an Ahriman deck, so they get a little perk from Ahriman's ability. Ahriman's ability doesn't scale. It's a flat number, so it doesn't really impact you all that much based on the Honor Guard mechanic. So he's just kind of a wash, let's say. So he still can be a challenging warlord, but he's not one I would usually expect to have a tougher matchup against. But that was exactly not the case I've been seeing. Most of the matches I've been playing against decks that are like 800 to 1,000 trophies, where I'm rolling around at like 2,200. So I'm overmatched. Usually I'm overleveled. And so that has made the play experience considerably easier, actually. See there, 1,500 trophies. I'm just under 2K, but against 1,500, I would usually consider a 1,500 point trophy deck fairly easy, just under leveled. Yeah, and here we're looking at the only trait rank 2. It's still scarier, of course, because of Honor Guard, but never say to a scary opponent. But I do also want to take a quick second to talk about the deck that I'm running. So obviously it is the Flyrant, the Flying Hive Tyrant in Tyranids, just because it's got that at the end of each player's turn, one random enemy card loses 25 wounds. Got a buff not too long ago to make that 25 wounds, where before I think it was 15. So significant buff, but what that really translates to is it's free damage. No surprise there that we would like free damage, but how I'm personally fighting against Honor Guard is I'm focusing on decks and warlords that get extra damage somehow and do it without consequence. So Psionic Blast obviously is the trait I'm going for and leaning on hard because, and there you saw there was the poison, gave the second life, and then because that was the only card left alive, the Flyrant's trait killed it. So that was really helpful to go ahead and get that out of there. So the Flyrant's offensive attack is small, but you see in this deck I've got Poison, Psionic Blast, and the Flyrant's ability. All three of those will trigger no matter what attack type I use. So that's key. So some of the things like any attack bonus that relies on killing cards, such as Helbrecht or Logan Grimnar, the Space Wolf, those are dramatically weaker if you're up against a deck that has the same dominant attack type that you use. So if you play Helbrecht against a melee deck, you are taking so much damage that you're actually not benefiting very much from the from your trait because your kills are coming at such a high cost that it actually is delaying the time it takes you to benefit from them. So anytime you have to get attacks and get kills to get stuff back, you're taking a absolutely punishing amount of damage back, and so it's reducing the benefit you're actually getting. So running the Flyrant has been really good for me because it's a way that I can. Not only are very few decks pure Psyker, so it's been somewhat easier. And you saw there that the Flyrant's trait at end of turn there triggered Akaran's second life, and then my Psionic Blast immediately killed him. So yeah, I've been playing a lot of Flyrant, and it's really good against Akaran. But yeah, so the key point here is free damage that you don't have to attack to get, that you're not relying on kills to get, is really, really, really powerful and kind of key. So I played a couple games. Now I want to go ahead and look at the warlords that I think are the strongest or stocks up, who are the most effective at dealing with the Honor Guard's modifier. And I wanted to be sure to cover that part first to make sure it was clear kind of what was influencing that decision, why I think these warlords are better than others. So you don't want to be losing cards. You want to be very precious with your resources because you're going to be outgunned. If the enemy deck is equally leveled to yours, it's going to be a very tough matchup regardless of the warlord matchup. So any of the people that rely on dying, I would not count them. Now, Magus can be good because he's so cheap and has such a huge amount of healing. If you have some endless chaff cards in there, some taunt in there, that can be really, really good. So he's one I would take, but I wouldn't take Yarick, just because his is kind of a one and done thing where his offensive buff goes away and it relies on stuff dying to get anything out of it. Again, benefits from being super cheap, so you can really load up the deck, but stocks down. Tolmaron also stocks down because he usually runs thin, very greedy, aggressive decks, and with the extra hit points across the board, he doesn't necessarily have enough punch to get through them as effectively as he would have previously. Artemis, actually, I was considering him as stocks down, just because his ability is... So his ability just does free damage when you deploy a card. Loses 20% of its starting wounds. Now that is starting wounds, though, so it doesn't... It's pre-Honor Guard. So you reduce the damage he does by... It doesn't increase based on the extra 30% hit points. So the damage he's doing is reduced. That said, it is free damage. Artemis himself is very cheap, and that Deadshot ability, if you have level 9 or higher, really helps win those fights at the end, where if you're able to pull the opposing warlord, you have enough oomph to take it out, even if you can't take out any of the bodyguards in the wings. Still a really great combo. So Artemis, actually, I came into this video doing my prep prepared to say Artemis was weaker, and maybe he is, but he's one of the better Space Marine warlords in the current meta right now. So I've been really impressed with him, playing with him. Relies on cards dying, relies on cards dying. And any of the attrition warlords that really did well not taking damage or gaining abilities from losing stuff. So like these guys both, you're losing cards as a resource to kind of build up and strengthen your tougher cards for later, but still you are deliberately thinning your deck where you're intentionally losing cards. And the momentum is so against you with the Honor Guard right now that both of these guys suffer because you are giving up too much momentum by losing your cards to be worth the benefit that you get. Um, Glogothorax is pretty good because I am seeing a lot of thinner decks, and his all its attack values. Yeah, so his is not base attack value. So his does actually apply a stronger rot versus a stronger opponent. So he's still very, very effective. Still on the cheap side. I believe he's the cheapest of the second cheapest of the Chaos Warlords. Oh, stocks down on the Mask. We'll go ahead and jump around a little bit. The Mask's ability to attack first is really good, but the increased hit points of your opponents and the increased attack stats means your cards are going to be halved faster. They are going to be less impactful when they do their counterattacks, and the Mask itself cannot hang in the end game. So yeah, stock's way down on the Mask. Mask is in a pretty rough spot right now. Manifest Nightmare can be good, but it's still a gamble. The defensive trait is really nice, but it's almost equal to the increased attack stats. So if you have something hitting you for 40% less damage, but it's also shooting you for 30% more damage than it had before, it kind of washes out his ability. So it makes him stand pretty well against your opposing decks, but that also is counting on having the specific attack type, which I'm finding a lot more variety in attack types that really give me trouble. So he's very good anti-psyker. It's worth that. If you have high-level Necron cards, you can do pretty well with Manifest Nightmare, especially because he's cheap. Same issue with the guys. Anybody who loses cards to gain momentum, so Creed, Darkstrider, they really suffer right now. Zemet too, because this is one of those cases where most games with high risk warlords, you're hoping to use a lot of early offensive buffs to punch enough through the opposing deck to get to the warlord early and use your limited offensive buffs to take them out. That's harder because the 30% increased hit points. So Darkstrider stocks down, Zemet stocks down just because they don't have the staying power that you need to kind of compete with these guys. Stocks up on Illic though, because his ability to just outright remove cards is based on base health, pre-Honor Guard. So you don't even have to hit cards any harder than you had to before, they just have to survive long enough. So he's really good at countering this kind of thing. He was always a really good Greyfax counter. He's doubly good at countering the Honor Guard stuff. So your Illic decks should probably be faring pretty well right now. Let's see, Canoness, not so good because, again, you're giving up cards to gain momentum, and her counterattacks are less impactful because your opponents are tougher. Trazen can be very good, of course, just still being super strong, using your opponent's strength against them, although I am uncertain if you steal a Honor Guard card, if it still has Honor Guard when you deploy it. I should test that, actually. I'd love to hear if someone has tested that and knows. That'd be great to hear. Both Lilith and the Parasite, two of my strongest warlords, are really suffering right now because they rely on getting kills, and the threshold of lethal damage has increased just enough that I find they peter out before I get the critical kills that I need. And then also the Parasite's ability is based on base wounds, so it doesn't actually do as much splash damage as you need to overcome the increased hit points on opposing cards. So this is a pretty big nerf to Parasite this season, which has been interesting. Going on down, Akaran, of course, is still Akaran. Unless your Space Marines are really strong, Akaran is going to struggle because cards with extra attack are able to get to your second lives faster and then have other tools to remove your redeployed or your respawned cards. So it's very challenging. So not a great season for Akaran, which is kind of fun. I'm curious to see how that impacts his win rate. Still good for Greyfax. If you have high-level Psionic Blast Greyfax cards, that does exactly the thing I was talking about before, where you have free damage without consequence. Where you don't have to attack to get it, you don't have to get kills to get it, you don't have to lose cards to get it, you just have extra damage. Having free extra damage is good. Ghosts are not good, relies on stalling the opponent to build up his forces, and you're not going to stall these guys. Helbrecht, I already talked about how he's pretty bad because you need to get kills and get some forward momentum, which you don't have because the opponent is tougher. Badrak apparently is doing quite well in the ladder. He's probably fine, but I personally have found him difficult to ladder with because the opposing cards, it's flipped. This is one of the most interesting things about this, where the decks that are toughest to beat are actually different than the decks that are easiest to ladder with, which is the first time in my entire time playing Warhammer Combat Cards where that's true. Very exciting moment. Just because Badrick relies on doing lethal damage to multiple cards and getting board wipes as much as possible to clear through opposing decks. And you can still do that, but the margin is much harder just because every single thing across from you is tougher. And I'm finding a lot of decks have beefy. So I think laddering effectively as Badrick is going to be a lot harder than it is to lose to a Badrick you meet with the Honor Guard buff. Same with Shazo. Shazo is crazy with the Honor Guard buff because his base trait gives you additional attack power, which also stacks with Honor Guard. So it's gnarly. Huron's not bad. Go through here. Nothing crazy about these. Vol has an incredibly low play rate, so you're barely going to see her, but of course her base defensive trait is going to be better with higher hit points. If you run into a Vol deck with Berserk cards that are Honor Guard, good luck. You're going to need it. Then we've got Eldrad, who also is really bursty. If your deck can't tank the psychic power that he brings out, you're going to struggle. Gazgul's, I haven't even seen a Gazgul, actually. I haven't seen a lot of these guys. I don't think I've seen a Logan. Flyrant is scary, but Tyranids is just kind of good in general, but doesn't really stand out too much. Let's see. I'm trying to think who else. I've really kind of touched on all the big ones, like, well, hang on. This is who we're playing as. Yeah, I got flipped somewhere in the middle there. Sorry, folks. Greyfax is still good. Badrook is okay. I've actually had a lot of luck with Voldus. Excuse me. There aren't a ton of Psychic Warlords in the game, or Psychic Warlords in the ladder that are really getting you back, and so the extra bonus Psychic attack from Voldus, especially now that mine is pretty high level, was pretty effective. He was one of my more effective Space Marines. Excuse me, can be a really good one to ladder with. I think that Shaz-O is dramatically better this season than Darkstrider. I've always had them they were up and down depending on what was going on. I think Darkstrider suffers a lot from the increased offense coming in against you. So your very stacked, super powerful burst damage Shaz-O may perform better, especially since Shaz-O himself is a very durable endgame commander, especially once you get those triple shields. Yeah, talking who we're playing as, stocks down on Uthar because his trait is even less effective. Note, even less effective. As much as I like Uthar and I love Votann, I think Uthar as a trait is not impactful enough for most games, let alone games where your opponent has plus 30% wounds. Because this is, again, affects starting wounds, so it does not overrule Honor Guard. Eldrad has been pretty good. I've laddered a little bit with Eldrad, and his burst damage is high enough to still kill stuff. One of the things my Eldrad deck struggle with is overkilling, where I have something doing 400 damage to a card with 100 hit points. So that naturally feeds into me still performing pretty well against decks that have extra hit points. He is a little bit less reliable now, even with mine at level 12. Goodness. Oof, man. Got some lucky drops of that bad boy. Even with him at that high level, most of my Psychers at very high level, you still struggle because Psychers are still at a premium, so you're likely going to be outnumbered, and your hits have to count. And if you start losing cards, you can very quickly snowball to losing that game. Still very good if you have really high level Psychers. I really recommend trying him because it's fun to see him do better than some other Warlords for once. Not for once. I will say that I have been trying to ladder with Space Marines, and I do think that Logan is possibly the best of the Space Marine Warlords because he himself is very dangerous. He's currently in the current ladder with Honor Guard, as is now. He's very dangerous. You've got some very powerful melee heavy hitters. His ability combos with Deathblow, which is nice. And by strategically picking your targets, excuse me. Ooh, I'm so sorry. Logan is able to, strategically picking your targets, you hammer home something next to a shielded card or something next to a fear card. He's better than most Warlords at taking down your opponent's power pieces in an effective way. So a good Logan deck with high-level Space Marine cards has been one of my most effective Space Marine Warlords. I was thinking that the Tervagon can be really good because it has that infinite card to go ahead and cheese stuff. I haven't tested it yet, so I'm not really sure. Flyrant is excellent. Getting that free damage at the end of the turn every time is really, really strong, even if it is random. And combining that with Poison and Psionic Blast gives you just an enormous amount of just like stripping hit points from your opponents. And in most games, that makes the difference where it fairly comfortably lets you take them out and win the game. You saw me in that Akaran game. I just chewed right through them. Didn't go so well in the other game, but that was a pure Psychic deck, which is a challenge. and it was a over leveled. It was more leveled than I am, which is the first time I've seen that in a while. Similar to what we talked about before, Avatar relies on getting kills and gives up bodies. Ghostar even gives up bodies, and I think both of these guys see limited or reduced benefit from their abilities versus how hard they get hit back. Swarmlord is still good. That defensive debuff is very powerful, and he himself is an incredible endgame piece. I've got to try Supreme Ghostar. I may actually do that in a minute just to go ahead and see it. Supreme Vol was super, super effective. Counter to what I've said before about giving up cards to benefit. Yeah, her miracles are so strong that she's still a really strong piece. Call, of course, being Call, you're probably going to have pretty good success there. And then Fulgrim, of course, absolutely loves this because his trait does bonus damage to opponents above their base wounds, and if they have plus 30% from Honor Guard, you can hit them more without losing that damage bonus. So that's good. Yeah. So even if a card takes a little bit of incidental damage, it still will take the extra damage from his trait. So Supreme Commander Demon Primarch Fulgrim, it's very good this season. We'll see how that goes. I have not tried Hatred's Embrace yet. I want to. Just haven't been brave enough to do it yet. Just because his burst damage is still absolutely incredible, and he's a really good endgame piece. But he himself, I need him at like minimum of level 8 before I'd really consider him a contender for one of the upper tier Chaos Warlords. I am super pumped to get him there though, because I freaking love this Warlord. Yeah. Key stuff there. Again, so just to recap, you want Warlords that do, let's actually look at the Warlords I've been running. So the factions I've been running are Servants of the Emperor, Chaos, Tyrannid, and Space Marine. Space Marine obviously lagging behind. I've actually been trying to get that up to do my leapfrogging and have lost more trophies than I've gained. I did try Tolmaron. I talked about Logan. Logan is the one I had the most success with. Artemis has been pretty good, so I may do some more Artemis to try it out, especially a mixed Fear and Psychic Artemis, leaning on some of the most powerful cards in the faction. That's pretty good. I did say I had some success with Voldus. As long as you're not up against another Psychic deck, he does pretty well at chainsawing through, and his trait can buff up Psionic Blast, which is a really effective piece in the current meta. Tyranids, of course, having tremendous access to poison. I would really recommend leaning on poison, defensive warlords like the Flyrant or the Swarmlord, and then mixing in, of course, some of your more powerful Psionic Blasts. If you happen to have level 9 of the Neuro Tyrant, the fear-based Psionic Blast, and your Scourge of Seranus, if both of those guys are high level plus some poison, you should be in great space with any Tyranid Warlord, except Parasite, because he relies on melee. Yeah, Tyranids, it is pretty funny to see this, because I think that right now Chaos and Tyranids are actually my strongest competitive ladder factions, which could not be more opposite from when I started the game. But yeah, for Chaos, I have mostly... Who have I been running for Chaos? I wish... I don't even know who I was running for Chaos. I ran someone a lot. Of course, Glogothrox. Let's go ahead and try this one. Let's do this. Let's do it. I swear by this deck, I talk about it a lot. Oh yeah, there we go. Psionic Blast plus Poison is a really, really good combo. Psionic Blast plus Psionic Blast plus Psionic Blast Poison is really good. And for that, I think Chaos is in a really strong spot right now because they have some of the best access to poison of any faction out there. And just all around decent stats. You can do a lot with Chaos. And they're very offensive and never really relied on defense anyway. So losing extra cards is kind of par for the course for them. We're playing as Glogothrox. What do you got? You do 33, you do 62. What are you going to hit me with? 143. And again, here I have more than 2,000 trophies. I think 2140 or something, and he's at 14. So like this, I should win this fairly comfortably. Beep. Sucks for you. Wait a minute. So you should have. Hold the phone. So he only took one stack of Nurgle's Rot. Yeah, he only took one stack of Nurgle's Rot despite killing both. Come on. What a jerk. It's interesting. I have seen a couple glitches that I actually was not expecting before. Earlier, I had an issue where I couldn't deploy my final bodyguard. I was forced to deploy my warlord, and I reported that. Yeah. Oof, man. But even here, I'm still bleeding a lot of bodyguards, and even as I should be able to nerf or neuter this thing enough that I don't have to worry about it too much, and I might just kill it outright. We'll see. But you can see how impactful poison is on taking out those opposing power cards with minimal repercussions. Like this guy is a lot weaker than he was. Yeah, now he's got the 3 stacks. He's basically not scary at all. Leaving me to run merry hell with this board. But I shouldn't get cocky. I don't know what last card is in there. I'm assuming it's not something very scary because of what's already come out of it. Yeah, it's not. Okay, so cool. I got this fairly comfortably. Again, I'm over leveled against this. Yeah, and I brought tools to deal with it. So I did want to show this off just to kind of talk about why I do it the way I do. But I will say that somebody like Skulltaker is much more, yikes, is much more frightening with Honor Guard because that means that he hits that much harder and is more likely to trigger his lethality trait. So if it was a close game before where he did his Furious Charge and then hit you in melee, the odds are higher that you're going to get wiped. Where before you could live on like 26 hit points, now you're not going to do that. So watch out for that. So Glogothrox is one of my top Chaos Warlords. I think I was playing another one and I don't remember who. But then I already showed off my top Tyranid Warlord, but we'll take another look at that. Flyrant? I did play a little bit of Swarmlord, but again, it's kind of leaning on the same cards. So the cards that I lean on the most in Tyranids are going to be your Scourge of Seranus, and then this one right here, Lucinda Kane, no, Neris Vignostiquad. I was mixing it up with magic. The Warp Surge into poison, so you just can poison the opposing card even if she dies for it, is really, really strong. These two just hit incredibly hard. And then that has that free Psionic Blast. So got double Medicae, big taunt, 4 hard-hitting Psychers, including 1 poison and 1 Psionic Blast. This is really strong for dealing with Honor Guard. Just again, because it relies on keeping my power pieces alive and doing tons of burst damage piled on top of extra bonus damage from poison, Psionic Blast, trait. Works really well. I've been really enjoying that one. The one I've been trying with Space Marines is Logan. Finally got Logan to level 8, where he's pretty darn scary. But I've been kind of tinkering with how I want to build this, and this is one of the more recent ones. I have some pure Space Wolf ones. Oh yeah, this is so you can see a lot of. I'm trying to go in theme. Mephiston, of course, being an incredibly strong card, having both really high melee, psychic to fall back on, and then Deathblow. And I've also got Deathblow and Ragnar, which again, Deathblow also triggers Logan's trait. So if something does kill one of my power pieces, I can hopefully use that strategically to take out something that needs to go down. I'll play with this one real quick. Beginning of the season, for whatever reason, I decided to start with Space Marines just to kind of try it out. I figured they were one of the more powerful factions. And since then, I have regretted it just because of the way that the traits are kind of balancing out, the way that Warlords are balancing out, the way that my card levels, it turns out, have been. I've been pretty surprised at how weak my Space Marines actually are. It's been interesting. But we'll see. Now watch me say that and then just completely wreck this guy. I am over leveled again, where he's only got trait rank 1. Excuse me, trait rank 2. Oh, there's 1. So I have much higher level than this, but still, this is a scary, scary deck. Or a scary warlord. I don't really want Illic to pop out and ruin my day. Oh, nice. Okay. And right there, you see the advantage of... we'll see that 100, and also I'm going to do some extra damage over here. Probably not kill it. But this guy with Honor Guard, he's not very scary. So I'm a little surprised to see him in here. But a lot of barrage is really strong for Illic, so it makes sense. He might die. He did die. Oh, but this is great. That's the dream right here. So you see something with 5 hit points next to something like... It would be better if this one had 5. It would be better if Illic was on the board already. But that's okay. Yeah, so I'm going to kill this guy with that, and then that. Yeah, so we got him outright. So Illic is going to be on the board alone, which is nice. Does have Deadshot, which is his space trait. And then we should comfortably take it down. Yeah, okay. So that was a case where I was matched up against a very easy opponent, and I'm sitting at 1,900 trophies. That just put me over 2K, and I was just up against something that was like, what, 1,000? Now I'm going to go ahead and try my Tolmeron deck, because I have been tweaking this, just to go ahead and show off some other decks. And we'll call it soon. I don't want this to be too long, but I'm kind of I'm enjoying this. And I've been thinking really hard about what I was going to put into this whole time. I've been super pumped. Really, like, I am so excited for these changes. Just to go ahead and highlight one more, you'll note that if your trophy counts will reset to a maximum of 500 trophies for every single faction. So at the start of each season, all of your factions are going to be on even footing for you to start climbing up. It is less total distance to climb because now you only need to get to 6,000 total trophies, even though it is a little bit further to climb because you start with fewer if you were laddering aggressively before. It's so satisfying to be able to just pick and choose whatever faction you want, just go for it. I am so happy with the ladder changes. It's like just one giant pile of wish list items of mine. Ooh, that's not good. I had some weird Tilmaron ones, but I've landed on this one just to go ahead and talk about it. I'm trying to sprinkle in some of the newer cards that I haven't used very much. Got some extra durability from the 20-point shields here now that I have rank 3 shields. I usually do run the big beefy, but huge faction Space Marines. Huge, huge. I know I can search for it, but you know what? I'm enjoying the sound of my mouse wheel scrolling. Apologies for taking too long. This guy. Of course, usually use this thing, which is another 16 points more, which really thins the deck, instead of this guy. But this is a really good card for the cost, like really good. And it helps me put fewer eggs in one basket. And then this guy, having the fallback ability of Psychic and then a very respectable base range stat, I really have been appreciating having him in here. And he's also got that melee. Like the different flexibility of what he can hit with makes him a really powerful piece. And I really enjoy sprinkling him into my Tolmaron decks. Looking at this, though, I can take him out and put in something cheaper because I would save 4 points. It's not really worth it. If I swap this guy in there, Black Star, I would save 4 points total, 255. Now I do lose precision shot, which I do actually really appreciate that precision shot. We will try both. Notice I did also have poison in here. And again, I got the extra durability of shields in there. I have spread the points out a little bit to make this a little bit less top heavy because I was finding when I ran the really top heavy, greedy Tolmaron decks, they fell a little bit short. Just because the increased toughness of my opponents, it was much harder to punch through them. Seen that guy a lot. Do I play my poison card yet? No. I do like playing the shielded card early because, oh, nuts. Because he benefits from, wow, I can't even psychic this. All right, we'll shoot him. He benefits from the extra defense of the shield so that he can usually stack up, well, not in that game. He can usually stack up more ranged buff over the course of the game than a lot of other cheaper cards can because they will start taking damage sooner. So the extra durability of the shields plus the high ranged is why I reached for him, and I've been enjoying having him in there. Blah, blah, blah. And saw that counterattack psychic. The psychic counterattack also is a really nice perk of this guy, and the melee counterattack. Like that's level 1. Wow. Okay. We'll see how this goes. And now Mephiston is Mephiston. He's still scary, even at level 2. But not having fear at all is a nice boon. And that's what I'm talking about with the matchmaking, where I do feel like it is not as challenging as previous seasons have been. And I don't know if that was an intentional choice or if that's just because the matchmaking has been left as is to see what happens. I can only assume the players playing at really high level, like with those like 15,000 trophies, are having a much harder time than I am. But most of the decks I'm playing in are favorable matchups. Like I'm finding that most of my games are pretty straightforward. And where I end up with cards that are higher level or have multiple traits, like especially with epics, if I have that second level trait, that's a huge advantage in a lot of these cases. Now I'm going to go ahead and try swapping this. We'll swap him out. We'll get the big bad in there, and we'll see what happens. Watch it immediately get nailed with target acquired, just die. We'll go ahead and try it. And then who are we going to swap out? Go ahead and see what else I can get. What do we have at 19? Because we can't do anything at 4 in Space Marines. What do we got at 19? 19, 19, 19, 18 or 19, I suppose. Level 3, that's a bummer. Looking for... There's not a lot at 19, actually. I don't benefit much from that. Excuse me. take both these guys? What do I have at 34? But I have something really good at 34. And of course, you don't want too thin of a Tolmeron deck because that reduces the number of drops you have. But I do find that you want your cards to be durable, first and foremost. Like, you really want stuff tough. He used something great right at 34. He's not bad. At the level I've got him, he's pretty bad, especially for Tolmeron. Oh, man. Don't really have anything great there. I just lost a Medicae, so a taunt would be nice. Feels pretty expensive for a taunt. Let's go ahead and split this a little bit. So we'll do 21. Give me a taunt that has an actual ranged attack. Yeah, and his isn't bad. Okay, we'll do that. And I've almost got him to max level. I'm pretty excited about that. He's real close. Do we do it? Should we do it? Should we do the 40? Not yet, because that wouldn't be enough to get him there. Pretty darn close. I'm guessing after the end of the season, I'll be much closer with him, and so I may go ahead and drop those. Both I'll get more wild cards and then also get more. Ooh, I could level him up and get the hit point upgrade. It's pretty good. But we'll wait on that too. Oh man, it's hard to hold on to those. I love spending wild cards. Wild cards are great. Okay, now we're looking at 13. I don't have any inspiring presence. We could throw this guy in here. Yeah, why not? Why not? He got a buff too. Okay, so now it is distinctly different. So just again, I swapped out the 15-point fear and the 15-point Medicae. Might be 15 and 12. Anyway, and dropped in a 21-point taunt and a 13-point inspiring presence. And I also swapped out the Black Star for the Grey Knight's Dreadnought. But I will say, as a pinch hitter, that Grey Knight's Dreadnought is a very underrated piece in Tolmeron decks. Against Greyfax. Yuck. And against a pretty highly rated one of that 1900 trophies, give or take. Oh god. Okay, we'll see how this goes. And I was saying, oh god, because that Greyfax that's max level inspiring presence. She's a level 12 Greyfax. That's nearly maxed. This is going to be exciting very quickly. And you, again, just as the quick tip with Tolmeron, you want to make sure that you're dropping your cards that will get the most benefit from the increased attack stat early. Okay, nice. I really like to see this one. I always enjoy a Greyfax deck that is just a bunch of the really cheap cards for really high benefit. Like, look at this thing. This 7-point Commissar Chelik has 200 hit points and is hitting for 53 in both ranged and melee because this deck has a 55% bonus. And I can't even kill him. But we got to start making some progress. Let's do it. Oof, 126, yikes. Try that. Yeah, he's going to shoot me too. All right, no worries. Go ahead and play this taunt, but there's still 6 cards in that deck. There's a lot in there and a bunch of poison. Okay, wow. Okay, so take notes of this Greyfax deck. That's to have a 55% bonus plus all this poison is very, very good. To be that efficient with cards and have that many cards with a lot of utility is really strong. You can probably just do away with her completely. Oh, yeah, comfortably. Okay, so what I'm doing here is seeing what my odds are of having Corvus kill this and then have this guy kill this guy over here. So we're going to do this. And we should get a wipe. Oh, look at that. Didn't even need him. Oh, God, but he's toast. And Tolmeron himself just got a buff, but he still is not a great endgame piece. So even though I feel like I played this fairly well throughout, that was brutal. Nuts. And as good as he's gotten, I can be pretty confident that Tolmeron is not going to deal 433 wounds. Holy crap! All right, all right. And there you saw I had a pretty good Tolmeron deck, but it didn't have the staying power to compete with that. And I maybe could have played that a little bit differently, but a Greyfax deck with that many cards, all of them with 85% of their attack stats before Inspiring Presence, like it's very good. I'm going to go ahead and try that Greyfax deck. That was fun. I like that. No, I like it. and I'm going to watch this video later to remind myself what player that was to go ahead and shout him out, because that was a pretty cool deck. Creative. I know my version probably won't be as good because I don't have level 9 of that poison range card. Where's she? Where'd she go? There you are. 33. Yikes. Greyfax is cheap. Yeah, this sucker right here does a very effective job chainsawing through stuff, no matter what level anything is. Okay, so we had Chelik in there. Got her in there. Yeah, so the 3-point card. Don't use Medicae in Greyfax. It's a waste because their base hit points are so low. This guy was in there. This one was in there. How close am I? She doesn't even have poison. So that one I actually fought only had like rank 1 or 2 poison. Okay, I don't know that she's actually worth it without that. And I may swap in someone else instead. She's crazy good, so we'll put her in there. At 9 points, and oh, actually, that's fun. Yeah, that could be fun. But I've already got Chelik in there. Okay, so he had this guy in here too. And then he also had this guy who in mine is max level. So we're at 120. I don't remember what else he had. Oh, he had the 11-point taunt, which is probably also a good idea. It's a 9-point card. Let's make it a nice round number. I really like this guy. I wish I had him at like here. Of course, I wish I had him there. It'd be really good there. Ooh, yeah. A little more barrage. I like barrage. There we go. 100 points, full deck. Oh man. And I believe 5%. 1% of, 10% of 200 is 20. So 5% is 10. So for every 10 unused deck points, I get a 5% buff to stats. I have 100 unused deck points, so that's what, a 50% buff? I don't think my quick math was correct. We'll see. But leaving 100 deck points unspent is pretty good for Greyfax. Generally speaking, it's not good. Don't do that. I know what I'm missing. I didn't bring the other poison card. I'm going to regret that. Okay, right when we talked about it, we see a Vol. Now this is good though, because I loaded my deck with Barrage, and the Barrage is going to do a pretty effective job of clearing these defensive shields. What are we going to do here? Okay, that's a bummer. Less of a good job of clearing those defensive shields. But here at least Vol actually doesn't have the offense that some other warlords could have. So I have a little bit of an offensive edge here. I say that, and then immediately I'm going to lose all my cards. But I don't think I have the offense to cut through this. We'll see. My melee is crazy right now, so I can really punch through some stuff in melee. Is that enough? It is definitely enough. Yeah, let's do it. So I need that guy to die before I keep bleeding cards. The Psionic Blast I'm about to drop will help cruise through some of these other cards here. But I'm running out of cards real fast, and then Vol herself is a nasty customer, especially with the bonus attack stats. You know what I'm missing? I'm missing my poison. Got that Inspiring Presence. I really need this guy to die. Ooh, actually. That may be a bad call, but we're going to do it. I want to take that guy out and keep my, ooh, ouch. Ooh, ouch. Oh, God. Oh, no. Okay. Now, Vol herself is going to comfortably finish me off here. Oh, nice. Okay, so having her solo is good, but she's got... yeah, got me. It's actually pretty close. I don't think I would have been able to take down Vol herself. What was my deck missing? Poison. I need more poison. Let's revamp that. I'm just going to tweak through it. So that the Vol is frightening. I think I actually want the poison guy instead of this guy because I don't think he was actually as effective as I would have hoped. I kind of get it. There was the let's see, poison. Let's see what we got. That's right. She changed. Her trait changed and she got a new model. Let's go and do that. She also only melee. Okay. Now we can really load up the poison. I don't think it really was helpful to have that many of those. Okay. So we got the 2 barrage, we got the 1 taunt now. No, we won't do that. We'll leave it here. So this is then a little bit more of a buff. I'm actually not going to play this again, though. I'm going to learn my lesson and play Vol. See how Vol does. And we're playing non-Supreme Commander Morven Vol, who's just so insanely good. Like both Morven Vols are really good and just a really cool character. So I really enjoy that she is good. And has just some really interesting abilities too. She can be a little oppressive to play against. I don't really like playing against base Vol. Oh god, look at that. So we got poison, 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 taunt, taunt, ranged. This guy's so freaking good in base Vol. Sonic Blast and Fear. Yeah, this sucker is really durable. Yeah, let's do that. Watch it fail completely. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And then I believe with this, so we played Greyfax, we played a couple Space Marines, we played a couple Necrons, we played some Chaos. I may play some more Chaos just to go ahead and give it a try. And then I will call this video because it's been a minute. So he's only got 4 cards in there. So the things that are in there, I want to hit really, really hard and really fast. So that, oh sweet, made the right call there. I want to poison them. And I have ranged counter, oh my god. 240 damage, and that wasn't even the max attack bonus. Now this is really good because the defensive shield was able to keep both of them alive long enough to effectively hit twice. She's still got 1, she's got 2 shields, nice. So I'm leaning on poison and psionic blast here. Oof, so hard. So much damage. And I'm incredibly sorry to whoever faces this deck when they're playing against it. There's stuff here you just don't want to see on the other side of the table, especially with the honor guard modifiers going on. Now Vol herself has both the fear and the defensive buff. It takes a lot to punch through that. Yeah, no, he's gonna die from the poison anyway. There we go. Got 2 shields on that. Ooh, that hurt. But I've got some hard melee. Oh yeah, I've got him comfortably on this one, but man. Yeah. Boom. Okay. So yeah, that was a very greedy Shazot deck, and that's actually right in line with what I was kind of suggesting you should run in a Shazot deck is your highest hitting, your heaviest ranged attackers, and just look to burst through opposing decks. Which you can do that, but it's risky. Okay, and so we'll take another look at the factions that have played. So we got Chaos, we got Servants of the Emperor, we got Space Marine, we got Tyranids. The only one that won every game I've thrown it at is Chaos. Servants I was 1-1. 1-1? 2-1? 2-1. Space Marines, I don't even remember. Let's see, what other decks do I want to show? I'm going to go ahead and show one of my Tyranid decks. We're going to go ahead and try the Turvagon, because I talked it up and haven't actually tried it yet, and we'll see if that extra life really matters. But I have to play a specific... Oof, man. My Turvagon decks are interesting. We'll try this one, because it's really leaning on the ranged attack of the free mini. That's risky, though, because if there are any ranged attackers out there, the decks I've been playing against so far haven't been really ranged heavy, but we'll see if I get another one with this. So I'm using the Termagant, my free Termagant to... Oh, okay, that'll be all right. Maybe. It's a fairly thin, so not a max Akaran deck. And the Turvagon is very good against Akaran. Blah, blah. And now just talking about the strategic positioning there, I've got the barrage next to this guy so that if I did get that secondary life, this barrage card would take it out. And I just got it in melee instead of getting it in range, so I'm already making some mistakes here, but we'll go ahead and do this. Ugh, that sucks. Bring it on, Honor Guard. Oof, that was a mistake. Ouch. God, he practically killed this thing through the shields. All right, that needs to die. And I've got double target acquired here, which may be overkill. Dear God, this guy went down fast. Okay. That'll take out both of them. That'll take down a shield. Bloop, bloop. Nice. The Trickster. So I have to try not to kill him because I don't want to deal with that death blow. Which works out. I want to take out those shields. And this is where we just cheese him, because even with Honor Guard, Akaran doesn't hit very hard. So I can just sit here and do this. And he just lost 3 shields. I do this, we heal up, we got it. Okay. Yeah, so the Turvagon has some really good strengths here. This was not my toughest matchup. It was just kind of a random spread of scary Space Marine cards. But still, there was definitely some stuff to worry about there. I think he's about to die from just my Psionic Blast. Nope, that was the second life. All right. Punch him. Get him. Kick him in the shins. All right, so that was fun. So Turvagon's pretty good. Let's try that again, just to see. No, you know what? Let's go ahead and do the Swarm Lord and see how he does, and see if his defensive trait is good enough. I've been leveling my Swarm Lord. I've had him for a long time, and I got some pretty lucky drops here and there. So he's quite scary, and he's such a good endgame piece. And I love Tyranids, and I haven't had the chance to ladder them as much as I'd like because I've been doing Apocalypse and doing some of the campaigns. It's been fun. I am really enjoying playing. I haven't been talking about it much, but I've been really enjoying playing with all the changes that have happened recently, which is nice. Okay, we're gonna really lean on our Psychers. Yeah, there's a classic one. My all Psycher Swarmlord deck is one of my most frightening Tyranid decks. I don't play it all that often because it's not... The Swarmlord's trait is a little bit less exciting than some of the other ones, being a defensive one. You don't really... Whoa, God. It's a what? And it's a Lilith deck. And Lilith is actually not favored with the current ladder modifiers, so let's see how this goes. Yes, that's great. I don't like it at all. Yikes. Okay. Oh my God. All right. All right. What you gonna do, buddy? Oh my God. Okay. So this is a basically pure ranged deck with a little psychic Psionic Blast thrown in. Ouch. This is one. Okay, I gotta try that. I've never seen this Lilith build, and it is terrifying. It's terrifying. 'Cause that's gonna wipe both my bodyguards and potentially do some pretty significant damage to the Swarmlord himself. And I still don't have what it takes to get him. Oof, yuck. Shout out to Wolverhulk for getting this high with Lilith, because that is a really not favorable. Wow. That must have been really hard to get that high up. It's a really scary deck. Yeah, I don't have any of those cards at that high level, but I can run that. Let's see. And I'm really kicking myself for not starting Ildari. I should have started Ildari instead of Space Marines. I don't know what I was thinking, but I didn't. And here we are. Yeah, that was gnarly. Wow. Okay, what do we want to run? What do we got? Okay, so we got Chaos still, Space Marines at the bottom. Let's try Artemis. You got Artemis. And this is just kind of an all-comers, kind of melee-centric, but with Psionic Blast in there. Artemis deck. And I've had some range solid ones. I had a full Deathwatch one. That's always fun. It was little Legion. It's a little mix, but it's mostly Deathwatch. But this one leans in kind of some of the greatest of the Space Marine cards. Yeah, it gives me a full deck. Let's see how this goes. Little Death Blow, little Psionic Blast to do some extra bursty damage. I always really like Artemis. The randomness of his ability is a problem. Man, as I saw Tolmaron, I was really hoping for like a 4-card Tolmaron deck, but no, this is going to be considerably more challenging because there are a bunch of them. Okay, but that one. All right, I'm going to punch that thing really hard in a minute. That one too. Oh no. Oh no, that's actually a problem because that means that that's going to redeploy to my right. No, good. Okay. Now what I was talking about is if this guy had moved to the right here, it would have been going to take out one of my favorite guys and not be vulnerable to my Emperor's Champion, who I expect to do some work here. Oh my god, that's so much damage. So I need to start doing some extra damage here. Here on the left. I need to take some of these cards out. Bummer. And we're doing this. Nice. Is that enough to take him out? Probably not, but it's enough to take this guy out. That's good. And again, this is Artemis. Yeah, so this is Artemis. All I need to do is pull Tolmaron out and hopefully have something in the wings, and I will comfortably be able to take out Tolmaron himself. Looks like I got it. Okay, cool. Nice. Scary. Scary, scary. And a thick Tolmaron deck. That's always problematic. And I shouldn't be bragging yet because I haven't done it yet. That helps. Artemis's anti-infantry also is really good in this situation where that should be enough to take him out between that and target acquired or dead shot. Oh, fuck. Pardon my French. Oh, no. No. Oh, and he survived before. So that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's where a lot of this, the Honor Guard thing gives opponents just enough hit points to last one turn more than you need them to, including the opposing Warlord. Man, that was so close. That was so sad. Okay. Do we call it there? Do we keep going? Do we call it? All right. We're doing it. Doing one more. Then I got to figure out who I'm doing. The button's not working. It's trying to get me to stop. It is late. One more. I do really appreciate this. I'm glad these are being caught on the video while I'm doing this because, like I was saying, most of the matchups I've been having have been easy. Have not really been struggling too much to get through stuff. So I'm really glad to see some stuff that's actually pretty scary. I will say these guys are mostly really not great. Most of the Supreme Commanders are really struggling right now because they weren't made for the ladder, and the latest ladder changes really make them struggle. We'll see how Supreme Commander Gosar does. And that will be my last game tonight. Who's going to do best? Probably you. Dun dun dun. Now this is challenging because Supreme Commander Gosar also relies on outlasting your opposing deck. And if the opposing deck is able to chew through your stuff quickly enough, your Honor Guard is not going to be enough to close out the game by itself. I said my Honor Guard, not my Honor Guard, whatever. But your bodyguards, your buffed up bodyguards that you have, you charge up all game. If you have one of them left, your Warlord's still going to get nailed from the wings. God. All right. This actually works out in my favor because he's going to get a huge buff and then he's going to blow it all, taking out my chaff cards. Yeah. Assuming he does melee. Yeah. Nice. You fell into my trap. Foolish Abaddon. I do want you. I want you to die. Okay. Nice. Cranon? Yeah. Man, Cranon the Relentless is cool. Oof. Oof. Oof, that's going to hurt. I still have 8 cards in the deck. That's not going to hurt. Okay, you here? Now this is going to be funny. We're going to go ahead and play it. 172. Dang. And we're going to go ahead and do that. So that my Psionic Blast should clear him comfortably. 300. Wow, that was a lot of damage. That was actually very, very risky. Hmm. 122. Yeah, I mean, it's gimmicky. I really enjoy having that guy in there and keeping him for late game because his base damage is so high. It's easy. And then he also does Big Game Hunter, so he's really good at removing the power pieces that are clearing out your stuff too quickly. Yep, yep, yep. Up, and we're that's it. Okay, we're gonna call it. It's been really fun. I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I have. I would love to hear your ladder stories for this season. It's been pretty cool. The way the meta has completely flipped has been a lot of fun, and it's made for a lot of like really fresh experimentation and deck building, and genuinely challenging games. Just even being under leveled, I still have found that a lot of the matches have been more challenging than usual, and that's been fun. So appreciate it. Hope you're enjoying it too, and yeah, good luck with the final week of the season.